risking all that he has. In other words, the business property and assets are differentiated, set aside from that of the individual that owns the company.
I think as part of the key features of this renewed CAMA, we also have the removal of AGMs. Is that really necessary? I thought AGM was meant to prove some accountability, transparency on the part of the board and then investors.
Yes, the AGM is still there for bigger companies, more serious companies. It is only for small companies. Mm-hmm. And these are very, very micro companies, companies whose turnover might be less than 10 million naira in a single year, or the balance sheet size less than 5 million naira. So these are very micro, they are micro companies. And the AGM has a cost.
Okay, absolutely.
So the idea is to reduce the cost of doing business.
Okay.
So, and that is why the law is saying for such companies, you don't necessarily need to have an AGM to approve your account.
So what then will be the opportunity for investors, if there's anyone at all, you know, in a boarding company, to have a look at the books of the company?
The books will still be there. The law didn't say the company shouldn't keep books, books of account. The law simply says that that condition, that necessity of having an auditor, an external auditor to come and go through the books and you pay a fee to that should be eliminated. It shouldn't be necessary. But this, it does not mean that a company that is expecting investors into it shouldn't prepare itself. It is essential for a company expecting investors, external investors, to put things right, to ensure that the books are well kept in a particular manner that can permit extensive due diligence to be done on it. So what the target of the law in this particular aspect is to ensure that those micro companies, those small businesses, do not incur such costs that they cannot afford, that probably would act as a disincentive to allow them to come. I'm sure by the time they start doing things and then they start getting bigger, one day nobody would need to advise them to hire an external auditor to put their books right. Because at that period they will be approaching the banks to book for facilities. They'll be doing more extensive engagements. The businesses must be growing. And then naturally, they will know that it is in their own interest to keep books in a particular manner that even the auditors will be invited to look at the books.
So we know that this has only been done by the Senate. We haven't gotten the ratification of the lower house, which is the House of Reps, and it has also not been signed into law. But shareholders of listed companies, which is where the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the capital market at large now comes into the picture, the shareholders are worried about a major aspect of this CAMA, which is that the introduction of new regulations for a chairman of audit committee, that you must be ICANN certified, you must have this, you must have X, you must have Y. What do you make of this, basically?
Well, those are agitations. Definitely, when a new set of law is coming on board, there will be public hearings. There will be quite a whole lot of things. People will make presentations, and then everybody will be talking from their own perspective and what serves right for them. But however, it is not to say that that had already been accommodated in the law. I do not think that what you are saying right now actually had found their way into the law. What we're seeing are natural kind of agitations. Agitations, people asking for their fair share in the pie and all manner of things. But speaking seriously, the law and the governance, as I understand it, is that the audit committee needs to have people that understand the workings of the audit committee. So it must not be an accountant, but it must be somebody who can interpret numbers, who can understand basic balance sheets, who can understand postings. So should be a member of the audit committee. Not necessarily that he must be the chairman. We are simply saying that in a functional audit committee should have a mix of people who understand finance, who understand accounting, who understands law, who understands the business of the company.
Right.
That should be the mix. So, and then I think my understanding is that people are simply insisting that the right thing be done.
Okay, let's hear your thoughts on this before we go for a short break, and that's the fact that it is CAMA, but we also have different acts representing different industries or sectors, subsectors of the economy. Where do we draw a line to avoid conflict eventually? Because we have a constituted committee at the moment that is looking at drawing up the FRC code.
Well, the CAMA is the principal enactment for company registration, administration, and etc. What I mean, and it is an act of the National Assembly.
Okay.
So it occupies a higher plane in the scheme of things. However, it is of general application. It is meant to apply across sectors, across industries, across companies. Most times, the CAMA seeks to address or specify the minimum standards, the minimum regimes. You now have the...
I apologize, but I will really need to cut in now so that we can take this break. And when we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Of course, Mr. Val Ucheobi is actually still with us in the studio.